Could we be seeing that 2008 is about to repeat here with all these condos? So we are seeing sales have stopped, says the president and CEO. So again, I mean, that's just not a good sign because so much loans have been given to these developers. And I've been pounding the table on this, rightly so, because it is a big risk to the banks because banks are extremely leveraged in Canada. The condo market in Canada is absolutely collapsing and it risks the banking system because of the amount of loans outstanding. We're going to get into what is happening in this condo market bust. So let's start off with some losses just to give you an idea of what people are going through here. And we're going to go to some places that aren't Toronto in this. So this condo in Hamilton was purchased for $660,000, peak bubble in 2022. It just sold for $535,000 in 2025. That's a near 18% loss. And these are people that have took the L. But when you really think about it, there are so many people that are not going to complete on these condos, and it becomes a far bigger risk to the banking system when you consider it's not just Canada. We'll get into that later because it's very interesting what I found out. So wrecked in Ottawa, purchased for $1.1 million, seems like it was kept empty. Obvious speculation or maybe money laundering. Let's be careful what we say here. So just sold for $782,000 in 2025, 28% loss. These are nominal losses, so people are likely taking 38%, 48% hits on losses like this because 3 years have passed by. 3 years of inflation, one of those very high inflation. So it just goes to show the disaster that is unfolding. And then Calgary, this one-bed luxury condo sold for $582,000 in 2023, just sold for $520,000 in 2025, a 10% loss. And as I point out here, you know, the condo fees for this place are $8,500 nearly per year. I mean, that is absolutely insane, but a lot of these new buildings just have massive condo fees. So for somebody to say that they're affordable, it's a joke. It's a joke because they're not affordable when you add in the condo fees. Sure, the property might be less, but add in the condo fee. They told you Ontario homes were bulletproof. Now sale listings crowd the streets and buyers have vanished. And then there's a post here on the Reddit Canada Housing. Why is there a flood of listings in Ontario and no buyers? And this guy, you know, he really highlights the truth here. 90% of the properties not sold are overpriced. And we'll get into that in a minute because that becomes key. He bought a condo for $600,000 in 2022. Today, it's $450,000. Politicians and developers are toasting your $150,000 loss. So is it worth taking $150,000 loss just to move into a house right now? I mean, you have to follow some of these Reddits because some of the advice given out in there is downright hilarious. But anyway, we bought our one-bedroom condo in 2022 for $600,000. Thinking it was a safe investment in a great neighborhood. Fast forward to now, and a few offers we're getting are around $450,000. That's $150,000 loss in just 3 years. So these are real stories. People are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, just look at that Ottawa loss here. That is crazy. I mean, these people, they lost over $300,000 in this. So it's just absolutely crazy the type of losses that people are taking here, but it's what you would think would happen when you've just had a Ponzi scheme housing market like Canada. And also this housing market, let's not forget, has propped up the economy. So major Vancouver-based real estate developer announces difficult layoffs. Again, a sign of the times when they're starting to shed staff. That is not a good sign. And the banks, you know, they are the ones that give all these firms lots of money. We've dug into those facts before about how loans to developers have exploded over the past couple of years from banks, so it's not a good indicator of what's coming. One of Western Canada's largest private real estate development firms has announced a reduction to its workforce, citing what it describes as a cost of delivery crisis, crippling the ability to build and sell homes. The president of West Group Properties said today is one of the most difficult days in the company's history, spanning over 60 years. So they were around during the 1990s housing market crash in Canada and they survived that. Are they going to survive? Let's just call it the 2022 housing market crash. Are they going to survive that? That's really the question that has to be asked. So they're going to reduce their workforce by around 12%, they said here. But look at all these projects that they've got. According to the company's websites, they currently have over 49 active projects across the Lower Mainland, more than 1,700 homes under construction, 6,400 condominium homes, approximately 390,000 square foot of commercial and industrial space under construction, about 1.6 million square feet of total floor area under construction, and over 900 rental homes in the permitting process. So this is a massive developer and they are firing a lot of their staff. So again, it's just an indicator of what is going on here. And then sales have stopped. Ontario developers predict layoff if cost to build doesn't fall, which is not obviously going to. A developer lobby group is renewing calls to introduce tax cuts for new projects as housing starts continue to slow, warning that if something doesn't change, tens of thousands of jobs could be at risk. And I find it kind of funny because Canada is now building 2 homes per person added. So they point to this in this article here that just because housing starts are falling, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need them to increase given what's going on here. As mentioned earlier this week, Canada's population added just 22,100 people in Q1, considered flat or no growth given the scale of the 41.1 million people. The quarter was 92.1% smaller than last year, so the decline in new home starts may not be as problematic as many anticipate. But the reason I think they're really pointing to this is obviously because their businesses depend and rely on it. So they want to get building, but the reality is there's no buyers. No tax cuts are going to revive this dead housing market right now. The bubble is imploding, and that's just going to continue because of where the economy is headed. So we are seeing sales have stopped, says the president and CEO. So again, I mean, that's just not a good sign because so much loans have been given to these developers. And I've been pounding the table on this, rightly so, because it is a big risk to the banks because banks are extremely leveraged in Canada. So that means that any small risk, be it $10 billion, because that's considered small in comparison to their loans, that eclipses all of the loan loss provisions combined of the Canadian banks, even though they are lending out, over $3 trillion. So it's just absolutely insane what is going on. If home sales do not recover, however, the research suggested tens of thousands of construction jobs could be on the line. It found 40,000 direct home building jobs could go, as well as 30,000 construction supply chain jobs. And guys, you've just got to think, you're in that doom loop scenario right now where basically the bubble collapsing reinforces more job losses, which reinforces the bubble collapsing. You're not out of that vicious circle yet, and nothing is going to revive that currently at this time. And then Shazzy put the Toronto condo market stats. So this was for the week before last. 6,582 active listings, just 161 sold. I mean, that is just absolutely insane. Only 161 sold and 6,582 on the market. So you're in a deep buyer's market. And get this, just 39 sold at or above list price. So again, it just shows that the pricing is completely out of whack on these condos. So no wonder that that is really happening. Canadian condo prices dropped for the 19th straight month, lowest since 2021. And this is basically a chart of what has happened to the condo market in Canada. The condo market is collapsing. It's been in free fall now since 2022. but it is getting worse and worse and worse with all these micro condos that are coming to the market. But get this, it's not just Canada that is experiencing problems here. Wall Street, they put out great articles about Canada, but this one is not about Canada. It's about the US. So it boils down to this in terms of condos. Sales that closed in May fell further and hit the lowest point in the data, along with Loch Ness in May 2020. Seasonally adjusted, supply spiked to the highest level since the housing bust. So, I mean, this condo thing, it's not just a Canada thing. And this is the sales chart, which has absolutely collapsed, and the supply of condos has absolutely skyrocketed here. So again, could we be seeing that 2008 is about to repeat here with all these condos? And the commercial real estate that was talked about was actually all the loans that were lent out to these developers to build all of these condos. I mean, it definitely is a systemic risk, especially in the Canadian banking system, if these developers really start to default on the loans. And we know that's already the case because we've seen that happening over the past couple of years, even before the tariffs. So we know what is coming down the pipe here, and it's not a good thing for the condo market crash in Canada. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, I'd highly recommend that you check out that video there. And then if you're looking for a VPN, also want to help protect your privacy and use the VPN that I'm using right now, that would be ExpressVPN, and a link is in the description. I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.